This is a singles match, and like we said, it is 2 out of 3 falls. We have very few submissions that are not allowed. If you're going to be going for small joints, you cannot go after a single finger. You have to grab all the fingers. Oh, and we got a great takedown right out of the gate. Controlling from the side. Oh, just using his hips perfectly to maintain position. That's a great way to make sure your opponent has nowhere to go, nowhere that can go, and they are right where you want them as he's switching to a north-south position. He's trying to push him off. He is doing his best, but that is a hard row to plow, if you will.
And there's a lot of energy when these wrestlers are in here and they're trying to go for that headlock because, again, that headlock in a lot of positions puts you. Oh, we got a mount position.
Oh, had to go for a rope break. Fully understandable. Because the ways to win in here is the 3-count pin, the submission hold, or forcing a rope break when you're caught to get out of things. That's why we do have these variables where if you're tangled in the ropes, that's a lot different than if it is a rope break. Still a warning, still a deduction. But win by submission, win by pin. Don't strike, don't headbutt, don't accidentally poke in the eyes. No spiking on the head, so if you're throwing somebody from a weird position, you do have to be careful, so you don't want to get disqualified for doing that. But I feel like everybody here is on the same page. Oh, switching over for a foot. Oh, whoa, watching the hair there. Got to be careful on that one. But he was starting to hunt a foot, looking backwards maybe for a toe hold, but he went to the ropes before he could be put in danger.
Now, the bearded lady's got to watch that shot. That was an amazing takedown at the beginning.
And that's another thing that could be very demoralizing right out of the gate, being taken down clean, big, with a big slam, a big boom, and the crowd going wild. It may not hurt, may not take the wind out of you, but it does kind of affect the psychology of everything you're going to do afterwards.
It really sets the tone for the whole match.
Oh, he's actually showing a good sprawl here because that was a very good takedown, very good single, but he is stepping over, looking for a half mount, maybe pushing forward for the first full mount.
And you can see the wrestling technique that's just coming in for him right here.
Oh, 100%, because wrestling is in many ways a game of inches and explosions. It's like being taken down by an alligator. It's going to just pop out of the water and grab you, hold you, pull you back, and twirl you till it's done. And that shoot was like a crocodile sucking a deer right back into the river.
Straight back in.
He's going for a crossface, which will create a little bit of space.
He got the ropes. So great job of recognizing where he was in the ring.
He is showing good ring awareness. I mean, he really doesn't seem to have a lot of defense, a lot of offense. You know, he's kind of holding on, but this is his first match. This is his first catch-as-catch-can rules competition. And no matter how well you train, how well you think you're prepared, until you actually get in there and do it, you have no idea.
And again, wrestling is one of those sports that the conditioning and the fatigue is one thing that you can have great technique, but if you can last and be in there with your conditioning, that's one thing that will take you to the end of the match.
And that's something we saw in the early days of the UFC when high-level collegiate wrestlers started getting involved in mixed martial arts, and just their athleticism, their explosiveness, their grappling conditioning. Coachable athletes are always going to defeat martial artists because of that. Because if you have that explosiveness, that muscle twitch, that conditioning to be able to go for hours upon hours upon hours, unless you're on that same level, you have nothing to counter it.
Technique cannot compare to conditioning, is what we always say. He goes for that outside single again.
Oh, and he's got that leg hooked. He is trying to set up. He's clearly hoping for that guillotine for a second, trying to go for the move that made Evan Lewis famous, but no such luck, and now he's in full side control, tangled and holding into the ropes. So we do have a rope. Up, still in the rope. Are we going to be having a restart? Yep, there we are. So we're going to bring that back to neutral.
And that's really saving him right now. It's keeping him on the edge of the ring. And I think you got to realize that is like, hey, I'm getting beat in the wrestling game. Let me keep myself to the outside to use that as my advantage to be able to get back up.
Because this isn't a boxing ring. This is a wrestling ring. It's 18 by 18, which is not a lot of room, no matter what it sounds like. So one throw puts you within arm or leg's reach of the ropes. It can save your neck, save your arm, possibly save the match. but it also can lead to a lot of frustrating restarts if you are being very aggressive, much like Damien Malice has been all throughout this match, because you get the guy right where you want, and then suddenly it's a restart. Get him right where you want, and then it's a restart. And hopefully that doesn't affect his psychology, make him feel too aggressive, and possibly make a mistake.
And for Damien as well, as we come to the end of the round, just like you said, that is frustrating to be able to take those shots, wrestle, but then right away you're right at the edge of the rope.
And here we are. We've got a 1-minute rest period. A heck of a lot easier for the athletes than it used to be, because once upon a time in the old catch-as-catch-can days, the pro wrestling days of the late 1800s, both in England and America, you would wrestle until there was a fall. That could be 2 minutes, that could be 2 hours, and then you get a 20-minute rest period and have to go out there and do it at least once. That's how you would have these matches like Evan Strangler Lewis versus William Muldoon that would go hours upon hours. Competitors like Theobald Bauer versus William Miller, who would literally wrestle until the venue owner gets tired and turns the lights off, and they have to come back again and try again the next day. So this preserves the competitive spirit of catch-as-catch-can and early professional wrestling, but it kind of puts some urgency behind it. So we don't have to deal with the slog. You don't have to deal with that 2-hour headlock, because they know the clock is ticking, and it's ticking fast to the win or the loss.
Here we go, round 2.
Now we're going to see how that conditioning plays in for both these athletes.
Well, they're both staying in a really good stance, which is good for them, especially when wrestling right now has been the predominant position. I mean, not too many shots, not too many headlocks, but it's a lot of upper body and trying to get in control to be able to take that back.
And one thing I do want to talk about is how both competitors decided to compete shoeless. Because when you do have shoes on, it does give you a little bit better of a grip for shoots, for wrestling-style takedowns, freestyle. Gets you a better, pivot point for throws if you're a judo man. And also can be a little bit dangerous because it makes you a little more susceptible to foot and leg locks. But when you have one man wearing shoes and one man not wearing shoes, oh, that was very close and very impressive on behalf of the bearded lady to get out of there when you have a man like that on top of you. Oh, switching it over to a gator roll, possibly going for a choke. Oh, now he's sinking it in. He is looking for that guillotine, and we're on the ropes. We're on the ropes. All right, he has to let go. He was looking for that stranglehold, looking for that front guillotine, but he could not quite get it. But back to what I was saying, when one competitor is wearing shoes and the other is not, what can happen is foot stomps, whether accidental or intentional, or a dreaded accidental kick from the shoes or the boots into the toes of the opponent, which will pop those toenails off like nobody's business. So I'm glad everybody's on the same footing, if you will, for this one.
I like what you did there, Nick.
Oh, I'm ashamed of myself for that pun, but there will be worse to come. Definitely got to be careful looking for that hair. We got that arm extended. Oh, goes down for that single, just changes levels. That is so beautiful. Almost as beautiful as the bearded lady.
And it's a disadvantage for the bearded lady, because when they take that shot, instead of trying to go for that wizard and get his hips out, he drops to his butt, into his hip right away, which just automatically puts him in a bad position.
Yeah, we are seeing the grappling and experience, the wrestling and experience of the bearded lady, just because everybody gets caught with singles, everybody gets caught with takedowns at one point or another, but it's about how you react to that dictates the rest of the match.
And instead of sprawling, like we said, there's not really too much sprawls. It's straight drop to a hip, which is really easy for Damien to be able to switch sides and finish that takedown. Because
it's not like a dropping or pulling to guard like an experienced jiu-jitsu player. It's not, going for your hips, opening up your legs, trying to keep control. It's just sitting down, giving them all the leverage in the world to, to sweep around, switch around, and get a better position. And here we are, still kind of in the tie-up. I mean, I do have to admire the balance and the poise, if you will, of both competitors, because you have somebody like Malice who is very aggressive and very good at pressing forward and switching to the angles, just to be able to keep an ounce of control and an ounce of defensive energy, if you will, is impressive, especially off of a first match.
And I think now it's about just kind of gaining control of the match a little bit. Damien is in the position, Malice, like we said, he's taken control of the match. So gaining takedowns at this point is just really, extra cake on top of where he's at. Now they're going to break him and bring him back to the middle.
And that was a very interesting tactic to try to defend against that single when he was turning away from it, where he was trying to, instead of doing a traditional crossface, was clasping around the face of Malice and trying to grind that blade of the forearm into his eye socket to try to put a little painful pressure on him to get him to move position. Didn't pay off in the big picture, but it did show some in-ring creativity.
And you can definitely start seeing fatigue in both wrestlers now.
Fatigue and frustration.
Frustration for sure. Shots are not as clean as they were in that first round.
And frustration can very much, be a cause and a result of fatigue because, again, you keep taking somebody down, you are dominating, you are winning across the board, but every time you're kind of picking up steam, every time you're about to get into the position where you can really get to work on the offense, you end up in the ropes. A rope grab. Oh, and there's an interesting thing. He's going for that. Oh, he's going for that standing Kimura. He's going for that standing Kimura. That can be very dangerous. Anybody who saw Sakuraba versus Henzo Gracie can attest to how dangerous that move can get if it's fully turned over. He got it. So we got a restart there.
And again, fatigue can lead to desperation, right? Once you start getting tired, you're not going to be wanting to throw those. You're going to try to take shots or take chances that you normally wouldn't do when you're at the beginning of the match.
And also, like we keep talking about, it's easy to make mistakes when you're tired. During my competitive years in jiu-jitsu and submission wrestling, there were many times where it was, a double elimination tournament. You go back out, even though you won, you lost, and then you have to go back out yet again. And you got nothing in the tank. You have nothing to offer. Your entire toolbox might as well not exist because you have nothing mentally or physically to bring into the ring for that last frame.
And during these breaks, it's game plan time. Going to coaches and seeing what's working, seeing what's going to end up getting you the win in this match. So we'll definitely see. I think this is where a lot of heart comes into it as well, right? Oh, absolutely. It's coachability and just that pure competitiveness of the soul. It's that thing that you really can't teach. You can't teach heart. You're born with it or you don't have it. Nobody can really learn that killer instinct, that do or die mentality. That's just how you're born. That's how you are as a person. And I think we're seeing a lot of that right here. But on the other hand, this is where you need to know how to listen to your coaches. This is where you need to listen to your teachers, to your seniors, the people who have been watching your strategy, because you don't always see the ins and outs, the angles that you are presenting in the competition. So here we go. We'll see how they recover. We'll see how they listened and see what they bring for the third. And I feel like the longer that it goes on, the advantage and momentum is going to swing a little bit to Bearded Lady, right? He's understanding that he's been able to hang in this match with him when right off the bat it was a takedown straight to his back. So. Because
it's not just a competition of skill versus skill. It can be frustration versus confidence.
Exactly.
And I feel like we're starting to see a little bit of that. I mean, Bearded Lady is in many ways very outclassed in this match. But there they are, still hanging, still on their feet, still able to frustrate Malice with takedown defense. And, not able to, really give them the opportunity to finish the fight. Yeah, there have been takedowns. There have been throws. There has been an amazing slam. There's been some submission attempts. But it just constantly ends up pressuring Bearded Lady into the corner, which is a natural instinct for a fighter. But under these type of rules, you're putting them right into a position that you cannot finish the person in.
And that standing Kimura, for him to be able to get in that position, that shows right there that he's not out of this.
Oh, 100%. That is one of those positions where whether it's luck, whether it's skill, that was a potential fight-ending move right there because that is a very dangerous position. That is like the Japanese-style catch wrestling. Carl Gotch to Sakuraba and everybody in between. Very dangerous, very dangerous.
So right now I really feel like it could be anyone's match. I mean, Bearded Lady has his hands on his knees showing fatigue, but they're still going at it, and they still seem to be in a very good stance.
Well, I feel also Bearded Lady is learning as they're going because, yeah, the crouch might have been fatigue. It also might have been realizing I got to crouch down. I got to make, because, Bearded Lady is a taller competitor. Bearded Lady is the bigger of the two in the ring. And as any wrestler knows, when you start crouching down and making yourself less of a target, especially for those upper body locks that Malice seems to love, it creates a lot less targets to be taken down.
There we go. They're trying to get the crowd into it.
And that crowd energy can be the deciding factor. It's about who gets refired up, who gets their adrenaline, who gets their confidence flowing once more in the ring. Because we're quickly approaching the end of the third here, and these are already two very well-conditioned people.
We talked about Bearded Lady gaining confidence, but it's got to be the opposite or the other way around, right? Start a match for Damien to be able to get a takedown, but now it seems like he can't really get in those positions like he were to get those easy outside singles.
Yeah, we're starting to see the weight advantage, the size advantage, and the strength advantage is starting to come into play over the clearly superior technique. But I will say, not great strategy that Malice has had, because Malice is having a hard time keeping things in the middle, because under these rules it's kind of like for the 90s MMA fans like myself what pancrase was for the Japanese style shoot fighting, where all of these rules came from when it's in a ring, because you have to keep the action in the middle if you're on the offense. And we're starting to see another great setup for that shoot style Kimura, because he's got the grip and he's got it extended. Oh, he's got it straightened out. He's got it straightened out. And this is not good. Oh, he slipped out, but we're still in the ropes. But every time you get almost caught in a submission hold, it's like if you're a video game, your red bar is doing fine, but your blue bar is going lower and lower and lower. Because every time you get your arm stretched out, that's making you feel in danger. That's sapping your confidence. That's sapping your ability to fully operate with your attack plan, because now you see this person has enough defensive to put you in danger, like serious physical danger.
And it goes back to the last match that we talked about. Now it's kind of really do or die. It's make a move, or it is going to end up in points, or it is going to end up out of your hands and not either in a definitive win.
And nobody wants that. Like, especially something like this, there is nothing more inspiring than watching a great finish at the end of a grueling war. And there are very few things more disappointing to the combatants, even the audience, when it's a grueling war that ends on points, ends in a decision. I remember watching fights like in UFC 4 with Dan Severn on top of Hoist Gracie for almost 20 minutes before that triumphant triangle choke got slapped on. Oh, and we have a pretty tight-looking guillotine. He doesn't. He's got to watch his step. He's got that guillotine choke, but he doesn't have his hips in the right position to really make it dangerous. Oh, and that's what it was. And that's the thing with these catch-as-catch-can rules. A submission hold that in MMA or jiu-jitsu would be possibly a game ender can quickly be turned around by just putting their shoulders on the canvas.
And that's just great wrestling right there. That's a great match.
And I am not going to pretend, I am not going to lie. I gave Bearded Lady very few chances to make it this far in this match. Because keep in mind, first competitive grappling match, first competitive catch-as-catch-can match. So this is somebody who, despite being a very physical person, a much larger person, a very strong person, does not have the grappling.